Feeling stuck like you, don't know what to do. I know there's more in you, but you cannot see it. There's a remedy, and I've got the strategy. It's time to turn your dreams into a reality. Push, and I'ma help you. 'Cause it's time to.
I'm so excited. This month is National Women's Small Business Month. Everybody knows, and Anissa, you were such an amazing part of our pep rally we had last year during this month, where we celebrated women in small business who were inspiring to start business. And this month we want to celebrate women in a different way, and we hope to have the pep rally before the year end. So thank you to all those who submitted their votes on when they thought would be a good time. Thank you, Anissa. We are working on planning that, but I said I can't have this month go by and not do something special for my Push Talk podcast
that's beautiful.
listeners.
You.
So I wanted to bring on people like Anissa who can really share the story of what it's like being a woman breaking barriers in business. This thing is getting in my way. There we go. Okay. And so I'm so delighted to have you, Anissa. I want to just start off sharing a little bit about your background. And I guess before I do that, I should let people know Push Talk Podcast has reformatted a little bit. So the way we do it now is our podcasts are 15 minutes. This is going to go a little over because I'm doing an introduction, but it's 15 minutes where we really have people just have motivational messages. You're on your break. You're feeling like, I want to give up. I'm ready to walk off this job, whatever it is you're going through. This is something you can just listen to quickly to motivate you, inspire you, give you strategy, give you wisdom from people who have walked various journeys in their business, career, and beyond. As a small business owner, as somebody who was a corporate America employee, executive director, I understand it's a challenge, and not having a way to navigate some of those challenges is a struggle. So the reason this podcast has come together is a way to really help support you, all of my listeners. So we are so excited for the new format. We have so much in store. So check us out. We are on YouTube, where this will also be placed. Our channel on YouTube is Push Talk Podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Push Talk Podcast. And of course, if you need support in your career, business, and beyond, check me out, my business, pushstrategist.com. And we are ready to help you. And then you're going to also learn how Anissa is ready to help you. So let's go first, Anissa, into a little bit about your bio, because I always tell people when I bring people on here, let them know that you guys have receipts. You're not just here out in these streets saying you're a professional, a business owner. You have receipts, and we want to talk a little bit about those. So I want to just share a little bit about how would you like me to address you, Commissioner? Do you want me to say Ms. Hajimoman? You tell me. I want to respect you for the title you have earned. So you tell me, is it okay to call you Anissa? What would you prefer?
Anissa is fine. Yes. Anissa Hajimumin. Yes.
Yes.
The name that's going to remain after all the titles are gone.
Right? Well, and that's the best one, because I love your name, Anissa Hajimumin. Yes. It just gives me life saying it. So Anissa Hajimumin is the Assistant Commissioner for Immigrants and Refugees Affairs in Minnesota, Department of Employment and Economic Development. Her office actually oversees immigrants and refugee affairs in the state of Minnesota, addressing challenges they face, including language access, employment and training, workforce development, business startup, and technical development. Ms. Hajimoman is actually a seasoned entrepreneur as well, business executive and government leader. After founding and leading 2 businesses, you guys, that focused on providing technical and strategic support to entrepreneurs from communities of color and immigrants and refugees. Mrs. Hajimoman returned to Somalia. Can you imagine? She was here in the States, returned back to Africa, Somalia, her homeland, from 2014 to 2017, where she served as Minister of Women Development and Family Affairs in the Puntland region. Under her leadership, Somalia was the first African country to sign on to the campaign to end female genital mutilation. She has extensive experience collaborating with local, state, and national and international agencies and government entities to move policies forward. That's so powerful, Anissa, what you did. I'm just so excited to read that. That's why I was stuttering. I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. Ms. Hajimoman holds a master's in public administration from Hamline University in St. Paul and a bachelor's in art and gender studies with a minor in creative writing from Metropolitan State University in St. Paul. Welcome, Anissa. My God, such great accomplishments. Today, we want to ask you a few questions about your journey. First of all, just being here, building your career, then deciding I'm going back to Africa. We are both African women, so we know some of the challenges, the electricity, the water, what else going on? So just for you to make that decision to go back is huge. So let's start off just asking you, my first question is, what made you decide it was time to return back to Somalia to start your new career? This was a big title you were taking on, and I'm sure you went through so many challenges. So can you share a little bit about that?
Thank you so much, Jose, and thank you everyone for watching us today. I really appreciate, and I'm happy to be here today. I actually did not choose to go back to Somalia and serve. I was nominated as a minister. You and I talk about a lot, I'll say, about how when God wants you to do something, you are just guided, whether you know it or not. And that's what had happened with me. It was actually a shock to me when I was nominated as a minister. And I remember for 2 weeks just keeping quiet and not really knowing what to do. And then my mom said, well, this might be a chance for you to go back, learn about your dad's side of the family, and see what you can do for the community. And that's when I went back. But it's one of these things I call a miracle and a calling by God's grace. But you're right, I really faced a lot of challenges. And yes, it's not a place that you can go and grab your Starbucks and get to work or drive. And there are different processes and pathways to go through to do the things that you should do. And the challenges include, challenges with being a woman, being a leader, being a voice for the voiceless, especially women and children, fighting against the injustices and bringing, the fight on a national and international level so you can make a change that you can leave a legacy in which you not only you can be proud of, but something that will, the women and children will be proud of.
Yes. Oh, I love it, Anissa, because first of all, just hearing you got nominated, it says so much about what you are able and capable of that people saw in you to nominate you, because I'm certain that going back to Somalia, especially as a woman, taking on that leadership role, we're so excited to see what women have been doing in Africa and been doing for a long time before they even got, public accolades, but just going back and taking on that position and really doing and making some of the impacts you did are really going to help future generations for a long time. So congrats. That's amazing. And I'm so proud of what you've done. Many first generation of foreign born individuals want to, go back home. They think, oh, is this something that I should do? But, there's challenges that cause them not to look back, especially those here in the diaspora. We just are like, well, we're here in America, we're making good money. I don't want to go back and deal with, some of the challenges, but there's so much good things happening. And we're going to have another guest on who's going to talk about some of the strides she made, by going back to Africa. She was born here, first generation, and she said, I'm going to go back, and where she is in her career and financially and with her family, she wouldn't have been if she was still in America. So I want to know, how can you explain why it's still vital for us, as first gen and those foreign born who came to America to build? Why is it important for us to go back and learn and make a difference like you did?
Well, because of the civil war, African communities seeking better opportunities abroad, whether it's U.S. or Europe or even Asia, starting businesses, we have seen that especially even in the United States, which I can speak of, how the African community has a wealth of experience, education, businesses, and has accumulated, so much, and not to be able to, invest in here locally for generations, but also to be able to go back and make a difference. It's something that we owe it to the continent. It's something that we owe it to our homelands. And I feel that the people that are back in Africa, they need us. Yes, as diaspora members, community members, we will face a lot of challenges. We will also try to import some of the cultural and experiences that we have had here into back home, which may or may not work, but it's extremely crucial to go back. Like, for example, the youth or college kids, they can take like 3 to 6 months. If they are like studying abroad, they can go back to Africa and teach like schools and educate the young and inspire the youth to do good. There are a lot of youth that are leaving Africa now, and they have been gathering money, or parents gathering money to be smuggled out of the continent, and so many kids have been perished at sea, and so many are undocumented throughout the world. So with that, we can use our wealth and education and expertise skills to go back, even if it means to just go back and do some sort of a community work, community engagement, empowering communities, teaching, helping women and children, because the maternal mortality is still high. Women's businesses still suffer a lot, although women are really contributing a lot to the economy. The children do not have effective education system that they can be proud of. The leadership positions in government, many times women are missing at the table where decisions are made, despite women and children being the largest number of the population. So definitely anything that you can do, even if it means 1 month, volunteering or invest in a business, it's something that you can do to help, because that little impact that you're making, even if it's not that big, and it's still like empowering or inspiring or encouraging even a kid, that's something. And it's really needed so much. And I would say that also for those of us that are specialized in policy and leadership development, definitely go back and educate the leaders there, because the kind of politics that we understand when we're in Africa versus when we're out of Africa is completely the opposite side of coins. And it's important that we talk about that. We talk about how to advocate or how to encourage our politicians to better advocate for the continent, to ask for what funds are designed, how these funds are designed, how are they implemented, what are the policies, who are these policies being impacted by, and what's the outcome. Those politicians are not in position because their tribes had selected them or advocated on their behalf, but because they are leaving legacy that they can be proud of. And I want to take a couple of seconds that when I went back, I learned about my grandfather, Hajimumin's story. How he went to Iraq, studied, came back, how he, donated half of his wealth to the poor and needy, how he traveled through the country to help people and make a difference. And that made me so proud. And I was like, I'm not really doing anything compared to what he did. And if our ancestors could do that and could sacrifice so much, imagine the kind of resources we have access to, the education, the skills, the experience, and little portion of that and giving back to the continent. I'd say it's a charity. And how much are we really donating every day? We don't count that,
I'm
right?
telling
Why
you.
not go
Yep.
back and do that? It takes a
Yeah.
month or a week or 2 weeks or whatever your time that you can dedicate to. It's something that's needed.
Oh, Anissa, so good. It's so important. So I was having this conversation with my husband. So many, just the youth in Africa who are without jobs on the streets, needing guidance, needing direction, and they all want to come to the city. Yet there's so much opportunity for farming and all these things. There's just so much that you touched on that's so vital that we need to go back. It's not. It shouldn't even be an option, because you have to pull up the next person, and if we don't do it, who else will? And people always say there's corruption, there's all these other things, but how would that change if we don't go and make the change? So I'm super, super, like I said, just so grateful for your story and what you did in Somalia. And I want to touch a little bit on what you do here and how you took your skill sets that you developed even more and came here and was honored with a position to be able to do this for immigrants and refugees here. But before I do, can you touch on a little bit of the challenge, because this is National Women's Small Business Month, what challenges did you face and how did you break through those barriers? Can you touch a little bit on that?
Are you talking about more of like the business side or being a politician in itself when I was in Somalia?
Actually, if it's possible, a little bit of both, for
Okay,
those who are
sure.
career track and then, of course, business, because that's our focus this month.
With the business, it's really difficult, first of all, because you are a woman of color. And if you do not have people that need your services and you do not know them, then you won't find the clients. There are certain trainings to go through. There are certain applications to apply to in order to get either gain grants for businesses, small businesses, or competitions to go through. And if you don't have the information, if you don't know the right person, it's not what you know, it's who you know and how
Yes.
much of the information you have access to. And not having access to information is extremely difficult. What I was blessed with is that I knew people that knew other people, so word of mouth, I was getting clients. I was able to do the organizational development consulting I needed. But when it comes to business, it's quite different and somewhat similar. Still being a woman and operating and trying to make a difference and also earn your share of your part and what you deserve because you went to school, right? So being a
Yeah.
politician is also a bit different, but somehow same. Because in Somalia, as I was much younger than now, and just not understanding the kind of political game and how people know each other and the tribal system, it was extremely challenging for me. I had to understand that. And so I had the mindset of somebody who was spending much of her life in the West and studying here. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, public administration, how to create policies, how to launch policies, how to implement them, how to design the budget that's needed for certain things that the community needs, and also take advantage of the drafts that had been readied, from my predecessors, to take advantage and launch them. And I realized that even with the international community, with dealing with community leaders that did not feel like they had to listen to women, it was extremely challenging talking to
Wow.
people, and
Wow.
sometimes like putting myself in a position that that woman should not even be there, let alone be part of the conversation. And I'm thinking, I'm just going to be a fly on the wall. I'm going to sit there and listen to what's going on because I need to know
Yeah.
and I need to do this because I represent this ministry. The ministry is
Yeah.
responsible for women and children and communities, and that is a major responsibility. If I say that I wasn't stressed out, if I say that I wasn't really traumatized by the injustices and the voiceless and the powerlessness of women and children, I would be lying. But with God's grace, I just kept my head, forward and thought like, I have been appointed for this. I did not come seeking this. Therefore, I
Yeah. Yeah.
trust, whatever I'm doing, in God's hands. And I'm going to
Yeah.
do whatever I can and leave the rest to God. And that's exactly what I did. So I remember, in the first year, launching all policies, establishing 4 women and children centers, building
Wow,
the
wow.
disability center, and also bringing the international community to talk about women's political participation. We're talking about
Mhm,
female genital mutilation. We're talking about children, girl child that's suffering. We're talking about girls that cannot go to school. We're talking about
wow.
70% of university students being females, but then when they graduate, they're expected to be married and stay home, which there's nothing wrong with that. But
Yeah.
being a queer woman, even when people say, well, in the Muslim community, women are not allowed. In Islam, in the Quran, there's nothing that says women should not be a queer woman. They can be a leader,
Mhm.
they can still contribute while being a mom and wife and whatnot. But it was just difficult. And I'm thinking, where are these traditions coming from? How do we,
Wow.
dismantle them? But what I realized is you have to be talking with people, especially men and tribal leaders, that do not believe women have roles in societies. And as long as
Yeah.
we believe that, Africa has a long way to go because we
Yeah.
have powerful women, we have educated women, we have so
Yeah.
many women that when they go back there, they can make massive difference. That the
Yeah.
continent, in entirety continent, can grow out of poverty. But we have so much cultural barriers that women are facing, and
Yeah.
therefore it's still hindering our communities from going forward and growing. So, and just coming back with what I've seen and the trauma I've seen, I thought I'm going to revive my consulting, and I connected with some of the local organizations that had been contracted with the international community, and I've been doing some work with them, and I realized, first of all Africa is the same in terms of the cultural and tradition and about women's growth and women's development. But also, I realized that many of the people that were leaving the diaspora, or even if they were not Africans, still wanting to serve in Africa, had other interests. And I felt, okay, how do we align our interest with the interest of serving the African community? And I
Yeah.
felt that was another blessing calling for me that I had, where I was able to train American expats and their staff members and their agencies to work in West Africa, in East Africa, and Asia. And I felt that this is amazing. But then my mom wasn't feeling well, so I decided to stay. And that's when I decided to look for something locally. And that's when I applied for the state's position.
Oh, wow, wow. Anita, I feel like we have to bring you back because there's so much I want to go into what you did there. So I always tell people that's going to be around too because there's just so much wealth of knowledge that you have that I think will be
Thank you.
really helpful for listeners. And now I know I want to transition a little bit into your consultancy and you transitioning back and now being an assistant commissioner here, really helping to support immigrants and refugees. Tell us a little bit about how that transition happened and how you now became a business owner advising people in other states, and then how you're helping in Minnesota here where we are.
Definitely. Well, aside from my degrees, I'm a certified life coach.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I've been helping with really a lot of women of color that needed help. Either they want to be writers, they want to be just the leaders, they want to realize their dreams and what they've got to do something and use, and utilize the opportunities that are given to them. And sometimes, even though if you're given everything in United States, with the racial, with the workforce development, with the economical disparities that exist for people of color, it's extremely difficult to really just fit in a one box. and
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
many times you need somebody to support you, somebody to cheer you up, somebody to say, you know what, there is nothing wrong with you. Even if you're the only person of color in that room, there is nothing wrong with you. What's wrong
yes,
with what's wrong and what's not designed for us is the system that exists, and that we're
yes,
all trying to scramble through and jump, and navigate through the system. But and I've been doing that lately, and that has been really blessing. And I'm so happy that I got to know a lot of women who are well established, very wealthy, very educated, but yet because they had stumbled a little bit, they have come to a point where they felt that they had to give up. and it's just a life. And about life, it's not how many times that you have to stumble, but how many times that when you stumble that get back up and say, you know what,
Yeah.
no matter what happened, that's the past. I'm going to go forward. I'm going to walk towards the the through the woods and just go through
Yeah.
and find my way again. And the
Yes.
other
Yes.
part is also diversity and inclusion. We know that in our state alone, data shows that we're losing $5.1 billion by not utilizing immigrants and refugees. So a
Yeah.
lot of states have been interested in, like, how do we avoid not having that, and how can we like utilize the services available for our communities to include people that are educated. So I've been kind of working around how to like engage with immigrants and refugees, how to include them, and also that just because somebody has an accent does not mean they're not educated. It doesn't mean
That's
that they're
true.
not skilled. That English
Yes.
is a tool of communication. It's a communication tool, but it's not a knowledge. That a lot of people
Yes.
who have degrees did not study in English and studied in different language. They're educated, but because in the American way of, like, if somebody doesn't speak English well, then they're not educated. Therefore, they don't understand the culture or
Mhm.
the traditions, and they can't hold a conversation that we're having, and
Mhm.
therefore that person becomes excluded from the mainstream society. So I've been
Mhm.
collaborating with small staffing agencies in the East Coast that are interested in doing that work. And it's been really
Awesome.
very fun and exciting. Here in the state, I'm also collaborating with different divisions within the Department of Employment and Economic Development to be able to create pathways and bridges to connect employers that are looking for increasing their workforce with people of color, immigrants and
Mhm.
refugees, and especially the educated and talent pool. And also bringing the talented pool, familiarizing with the employers that exist and are looking for them. Because many times, if they do not know, and both sides, then there can be a disconnect. And that
Yes.
disconnect can create a loss of workforce. And that's why our
Yes.
state, we're trying to kind of create those strategies. And Adeshewa, for example, she's the
Yes.
part of the team that does the workforce consultants for employers. So she's been doing a lot of diversity and inclusion presentations. And
Yes.
here with the career force in our state and career force locations, engaging with the talents and getting them ready with what they need, whether it's cover letter, resume, makeover, interviewing skills and whatnot, and preparing them to face the employers that would hire them. And I would
Yes.
also have to say that you've done a lot yourself, and I'm really grateful that what you've done for the community as connecting with
Oh, thank you.
especially international immigrants that are seeking opportunities here to be connected with employers. Then there's a We Network that we partner with, who had
Yeah.
been bringing talented immigrant professionals to be connected with employers, especially in the information technology field. So
Yeah.
we have so many, and especially within the African community, we have so many talented and educated people. But as long as they know who is hiring and where they're at, then it's easier to make the connection.
Yes, yes. Oh, so good, Anissa. It's amazing. I've seen your work. I've been blessed to work with you for things and just the capacity of a book that you've been helping me with. So
Thank you.
there's so much you've done for the community, just being here in Minneapolis. And as we all know, Minneapolis needs this type of help. This city needs to understand that there is value in immigrant talent. They're not just here to do entry level jobs. Nothing against that, but we want to have leadership positions. We want to be able to make decisions in this state because we bring a lot to this state. So the work you've done globally as well as here in Minneapolis, thank you for being a woman who is breaking barriers.
Thank
My
you.
last question before we wrap up, we went over the 15 minutes, guys, but again, this is a special month. Give us woman time to just chat. We like to talk, okay?
Yes.
My last question really is, out of all these things you did, going to these different countries, really being an advocate and a voice, do you find that it helped you professionally and in your business? Did you find it was a way for you to grow and become more knowledgeable going through some of these tough, positions, or did you find that it hindered you? Just wrap us up with that so people understand the value of really giving back in this capacity. And I should say, the thing, Anissa, that makes you so special and such a blessing is that you have passion, you're intelligent, you're smart at what you do, but you care. And I think that's what we need, leaders in Africa who care enough to say, no, I'm not going to succumb to this dollar or this resource. I want to make sure I stand firm because there's generations of people who need to know that Africa has a place and it has a huge impact in the world that we live in. So thank you for caring. But if you could wrap us up with that last question.
I would think that it did both help me mature, and also in a way made me somebody who is more careful in the decisions I make, because I was always interested in why is it that in Africa there are so many policies being made by the international community, but the implementation processes isn't that effective. Why is it that the African continent is so full of wealth and money and budgeting, but yet so many countries are full of debt and can't even make their own workforce work, yet we're full of youth and we have so many people that can really contribute to the growth. And just looking at the dynamics and different ways where the African leaders are involved, where the international community is involved, where our own tribal leaders are involved, then I realized there are many factors why things are happening and are the way they are. And that really opened my eyes. And I used it as a leverage with that knowledge and information I had to navigate through the political waters, to be able to launch policies and know who to talk to, who to engage with, what communities to advocate with, and to have them on my side so I can better do my job, because at the end of the day I wanted to deliver and deliver effectively. And being here right now and serving our state, it's no different. Politics are still the same. I'm serving immigrants and refugees. I still have to run the forums that I hold every month to educate and inform the communities about what's happening on the state level. Also educate the state level and the governor's office about what's happening at the community level, what their concerns are and what we can do. And that way, so then our legislative directors are better advocating on behalf of the communities and what's needed and taking these consideration and concerns into, their proposals, but also understanding the real need and where are we going from policies to implementations to creating legacies to being included in decision making. And I feel that I've been really blessed to be trained in Hamlin's public administration program. And I did a presentation in July for the Women's Public Service where I said, I know that Hamlin didn't teach me how to implement policies, but I had to learn the hard way. And I'm so glad that I did, because without implementation, their policies are just, gathering dust on a shelf. And with that, I feel that if I did not do that, if I did not go to Somalia and be nominated as a minister, if I didn't experience all these hurdles that I faced, I don't think I would be where I'm at today. And yes, there were many times I have asked, why did God brought me here? Am I being punished? And if I did, what did I do to be punished this way, to be witnessing such pain? And I have a short story anthology that I'll be publishing late this year. And those stories are, inspired by true events in people's lives that I've seen that affected me so much. And sometimes it's not about who you know or who you're related to. It's what you see that affects you more than what would have affected you if it happened through your family or children or relatives. And the suffering the women and children I've seen and witnessed have faced, it's something that I can never imagine in thousand folds that I myself can even handle it. So yes, it really matured me so much to the point that I opened my eyes that now when I see a disagreement going on, I don't take it personally. It's all about politics. I'm going to do my best, and what matters is serving towards the greater goal. And that's
Yeah.
all what it is, because someday, in the future, we'll be talking about it today and laughing about it. So why not even get mad? Just, as they say, the advertisers, get glad, So,
Yeah.
yeah, I just laugh and I say, what is it that I can do? So we can do it
Yeah.
together and move forward, because we're serving
Yeah.
people, and the people we're serving don't care the differences that we have, and our opinions. What they care is how many people in the state or in the government that are serving communities in need.
Yes. Oh, I love it, Anissa. Thank you.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure to have you on here, just dropping these gems and knowledge. And a big thing that came to me even while you spoke is we're positioning Africans and immigrants to be successful. And we just want people who are equity focused. It doesn't matter if you're white, blue, yellow, green, anyone. The point is if you're willing to be part of the solution and willing to
You
put in
can
the
do
work, you're also just as vital to this movement as myself, who is first generation or foreign born person. So it's about being inclusive and including
Yes.
everyone to say you just have to be responsible and
Yes.
what's your way of making sure you make a difference. So
Right.
I'm so thankful. And I'm like, I don't know what I was doing on this thing for social media. So I don't know if it's shared. Using my phone, guys. I don't know how it comes out, but watch the replay. We're going to share this. We're
Thank
so
you.
thankful, Anissa. We
Thank you
have
so
to have
much.
you back on Push Talk Podcast. Quickly tell us, where can we find you? I know there's several things, this is a business podcast, so we have to promote. You help with publishing, you have your consultancy, of course. You are continuing to make a difference here in Minnesota as the Assistant Commissioner of Immigrant and Refugees. You do work outside of Minnesota with DEI, with various different organizations. So where can people find you? You are a Twitter queen. Okay, she got thousands of followers. I'm like, look, girl, you need to teach me a little something, something. So tell us, where can we
Yes.
find you, and how can we make sure that we get connected if we need this type of support in our organizations?
Oh, definitely. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. So Anisa Hajimumin. I think that's the only person that I don't think there's anybody else with that same last name. So I'm
Yeah.
the only Anisa Hajimumin. So it's at Anisa_Hajimumin on Twitter, and LinkedIn is the same first and last name. Facebook as well. Yeah, email me if you want to get hold of me quick. Definitely direct message me through Twitter, or Instagram or LinkedIn for professional and networking purposes, because we need networking in the immigrant community. We don't do enough networking, and many times it's
Yep.
not just the education or skills that will get you the job. You will need to get to know the people in the system and get to know
Yep.
how you can present your skills, so you are known not just for your degrees and the job that you're applying for, but also for the person and the quality and unique position you're in within your community.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I love it. So you guys, you see where to find Miss Hajimoman, Mrs. Hajimoman.
Thank
Okay.
you.
I don't.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We
Thank you,
appreciate
Elsie.
you. You guys continue to follow, share, send smoke signals. Continue to let people know we are here dropping knowledge because we want to push you towards your purpose in business, career, and beyond. Congrats to all my women, small business owners breaking barriers. Check us out next Friday. We will be on again with another amazing woman sharing her story. And be sure to just continue to support us. We're small business owners. We're going to get there. So we love and appreciate you guys. And join us next
Thank you
time
so
on Push
much.
Talk Podcast. Thank you, Anissa.
Right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.